Hello everyone, this is Dr. Julia with Harmonious Living. I'm so glad that you joined me. So come on in and take a seat and make yourself comfortable. As a life coach, it is my goal to help you live a more harmonious life with purpose, passion, positivity, and power. In this season, I have 10 episodes of inspiration and wisdom. In order to receive the maximum benefit from this season, try to listen to the podcast in their entirety. One more thing, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review about the tips and practical advice given in this episode. If you need life coaching, please contact me. The information is in the description box. In this episode, I'm going to talk about something very familiar to all of us, and that is our emotions and our feelings. Emotions are universal, and it's easy to tell how someone is feeling without them verbalizing how they feel. The basic emotions of sad, glad, mad, fear, and anger are evident by facial expressions and other behavioral responses like tears, laughter, shaking, or yelling. I'm going to illustrate the emotions of jealousy, guilt, shame, and envy. These are the emotions that are common in all relationships, not necessarily at the same time. But if you live long enough, you will experience these emotions yourself because of what you're feeling and projecting onto others, or what someone else is projecting onto you. This happens with family, friends, colleagues, and in intimate relationships. These are some of the most difficult emotions to deal with because they are not easily recognized at the beginning of a relationship or in early childhood. Once recognized, coping with them and dealing with them can be quite a battle in itself. As usual, I'm going to use fictional characters to illustrate real-life circumstances and to help facilitate positive change in your personal life. Don't get it twisted. There is no red table in here. My goal as a consultant and life coach is to help you raise your emotional IQ through self-awareness. This is the ability to manage both your own emotions and to understand the emotions of people around you. Emotions are subjective, and the frequency and intensity vary from person to person. The first emotion I'm going to illustrate is jealousy. It's defined as one who is resentful, possessive, distrustful, and suspicious. In intimate relationships, jealousy is usually accompanied with control, and when there's a dominant, unyielding personality that tries to maintain control by using a power differential through income, violence, gaslighting, fear, or drugs. I'm going to use Derrick and Deniece, our fictional characters, to illustrate how this emotion can go awry in just a few weeks. On a scale of 1 to 10, Derrick's jealousy never falls below an 8. And when he is angry, his anger will reach a 10 in just minutes. Derrick is a 28-year-old X-ray technician that works 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. And Deniece is a 23-year-old nurse who works 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. They met online and soon found out that they work at the same hospital. Deniece stated that she has met her soulmate because Derrick is so attentive and caring, and he will send her love notes 4 to 5 times per day by text. And if she does not respond after 15 minutes, he will call just to make sure she is okay. Isn't that sweet? Even though he works the second shift, he will show up early with food so that they can both have lunch together. He will often show up without telling her. She's afraid to say anything because she does not want to hurt his feelings, and she doesn't want to seem ungrateful. After all, he is going out of his way to buy her lunch and bring it to her 4 hours before his shift starts. Last week he showed up at the nurse's station because she did not respond to his third text that he sent before 10 a.m. Although Deniece was with a patient, he decided to wait. She told Derrick that she was fine, and when she is busy working, she does not take her phone into patients' rooms. She told Derrick that she would call him at 3:15 when she gets off work.
He told her, well, it only takes you 3 minutes to get to your car, and so I expect to call at 3:05.
He said, laughing and winking. So when Deniece called him at 3:15, he started yelling and told her, who does she think she is, keeping him waiting? And he reminded her how much money he spent on lunch, in the past month. Deniece got scared and she hung up on him, and she would not answer any more of his calls or texts that day. The next morning, Derrick shows up at the hospital parking lot at 6:45 a.m. As soon as Deniece got out of her car, he ran over to her. He gave her a bouquet of flowers and apologized profusely as he walked her to the nurse's station. The other nurses were impressed and told Deniece that she is lucky to have someone like him that will bring her flowers at 6:45 in the morning. And girl, I heard he has a mobile home and a G-Wagon. You better keep him, Sheila said. Deniece loved the comments of admiration her co-workers expressed about Derrick, so she decided to take him back, thinking that everyone deserves a second chance, don't they? After 6 months of dating, Deniece has decided to end the relationship. She no longer sees Derrick as her soulmate and has become afraid of him. It was quite an entanglement, I must say. He expects her to ask his permission before she goes anywhere, and he has told her what to wear when they go out. He has quite a temper, and he blames Deniece for his angry outbursts. After a fit of rage, he will try and make it up to Deniece by buying flowers and promising to never do it again. Derrick has tried several times to get Deniece to move in with him, but she has always refused. Smart girl. After getting up the nerve, she finally told Derrick that it was over. She stopped taking his phone calls or responding to his texts, so he decided to show up at her apartment one night, banging on the door and demanding to come in. She called the police, and he was given a citation for disturbing the peace. The next morning, Derrick met Deniece in the parking lot again before her shift. He tried to hug her and give her an expensive bracelet. When she refused the gift and his advances, he became angry. He pushed her up against her car and started screaming obscenities. Security was called and they escorted Deniece inside, and Derrick was told to leave the premises. He was so upset because he was rejected and humiliated in front of other employees. He told himself that nobody does this to me and gets away with it. He was determined to get back in her good graces and then teach her a lesson. Not a valuable lesson, but a retaliatory one. Keep that in mind. He was furious when she blocked his number. He continued to leave notes and flowers on her car as well at the nurse's station, stating that he just needed one more chance to prove his love. After a few weeks, Derrick was frustrated and angry because Deniece continued to ignore him. So he decided to go back to her apartment, banging on the door, demanding to come in. When the police arrived, they encouraged Deniece to file a peace bond or a restraining order. The police told Derrick that if he showed up again, he would be arrested. Deniece's family and friends encouraged her to go to the HR department at work to report him for harassment. She was reluctant at first because she did not want him to lose his job, but he continued to pursue her. The last straw was when he left her a cryptic message at the nurse's station, and he stated, well, he's not able to live without her, and maybe she should not live either. After that, she didn't hesitate, and she went to HR and filed a complaint. Word of wisdom. If you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must resist it and do the next right thing. Now, let's go over the red flags in this relationship. These are a few things to write down in your journal. First, a word of wisdom. It takes 90 days or less to get to know someone. In the first couple of months, Derrick demonstrated that he was possessive, controlling, and did not respect Deniece's boundaries. He kept tabs on her 24/7, and he tried to keep her away from her family and friends, and blamed her for his anger. So many young people, especially women, mistake jealousy for caring. It's easy to become intoxicated by the seduction from all of the attention, the love notes, and the gifts, that sometimes you start to ignore the red flags, just like Deniece. When someone you just met starts proclaiming their undying love for you in the first week and then starts buying you gifts, take a step back and take a break and reflect on the relationship. Right now, you may feel special and loved, but don't take the bait. People involved in sex trafficking use the same tactics, so beware. You could be putting yourself in danger. If you are in this type of relationship, ask yourself this question. Do you really like the person and all the drama that comes with it? Or do you really like the gifts, the constant apologies, the crying and the begging for you not to leave them? I have 3 more questions for you. Do you hate being alone so much that you're willing to put up with anything? Is it because you spent 5 years without a steady boyfriend and you don't want to be alone again? Are you trying to save face with family and friends, pretending to have a good man when you really don't? The truth is free, salvation is free, but everything else will cost you if you don't pay attention to the red flags, like your time, your money, your peace of mind, sometimes your job, and sometimes your life. Heaven forbid. Now the next emotions I'm going to illustrate are the twins of guilt and shame. Guilt is felt when you fail to do something or when you persuade someone to do something that they don't really want to do. Shame is a feeling of humiliation, distress, or wrongdoing. When there is a power differential in a relationship, guilt and shame are used concurrently. The main fictional characters are a mother and son named Megan and David Jr. Megan is 27 and David Jr. is 11. Megan was a teenage mom and gave birth to David Jr. when she was 16. She and David Sr. got married after they graduated from high school. He moved into the house with Megan and her mother so they could both work full-time and save enough money so that they could move out with their son when they were financially stable. It took 2 years, but Megan and David were thankful that Megan's mom, Peggy, was there for them. Last year, David and Megan divorced, and David remarried after getting a job at the casino that's on the Texas and Oklahoma border out off Interstate 35. Have you been there? Well, he is less than an hour away from his son, who lives in Corinth with his mother, Megan. And once David Sr. is able to get a regular ship, he plans to pick up his son every other weekend as specified in the divorce decree. Megan works as a Pilates and yoga instructor for several health clubs. Because she's young and pretty, she considers herself to be quite a catch. She watches her diet and never misses her Botox treatments. Her goal is to be remarried by the end of the year to a rich, older white man that is looking for a pretty young thing like herself. Megan has told David Jr. that since his dad left, he is now the man of the house. For an 11-year-old, this is quite a compliment and a statement that is taken seriously in a developing mind. She dates frequently and will leave David home alone by himself. Peggy, Megan's mom, told her that she will keep David 1 weekend a month and she's not available to babysit any other time unless it is an emergency. After all, she's only 47 and has a life of her own and has 20 years before she can retire. Because of this, Megan has sworn David Jr. to secrecy about being left alone. She told him that if he tells, that he will be taken away from her and he will not be able to see her, his dad, or his grandmother ever again. She told him that she's trying to find another husband that's rich so that he can buy them a big new car, a big new house with a pool, and then she can stay home with him because she won't have to work anymore. When David gets scared and starts crying because he is left alone, Megan will chastise him and make him feel guilty. Megan reminds him that he is the man of the house and men don't cry or get scared when they're left alone. David Jr. carries a lot of shame because he always cries when she leaves. After being out all night, Megan will wake up with a hangover, and when David is ready to go out and play, she will stop and tell him, "Make me a pot of coffee and some toast because you are my little man." And then she'll kiss him on the cheek. You notice how Megan uses guilt and shame to keep control of the secret. And then David internalizes those same feelings because at his age, he is having difficulty understanding why he can't be more of a man. David Jr. communicates with his father by text on his tablet. When he is alone, he will tell his dad that his mother is asleep and he wants someone to talk to because he's feeling lonely. David Sr. is beginning to see that his text messages usually come in after 11 p.m. He will tell his son to turn off the lights and go to sleep, and that he will talk to him in the morning. And when David Sr. confronts Megan about their son being awake late at night, she will lie and tell him that every time she goes into his room to check on him, the lights are off and his tablet is on the dresser. One weekend when David was with his grandmother, the date Megan brought home got physically violent. And when Megan called her mother, Peggy rushed over with David to find the living room in shambles, and she was bloody and bruised. Peggy took her to the ER. After she was treated and released, David Jr. stayed with his grandmother for the next 2 weeks while Megan healed. David was so upset and felt guilty for not being there to protect his mother. He could hear his mother's voice in his head telling him that he's the man of the house. And after feeling safe and comfortable with his grandmother, he finally told her the big secret of being left alone at night while his mother went out on dates. After giving it some thought, being the wise woman that she is, Peggy called a family meeting to include David Sr. and his new wife, as well as Megan and herself. After the truth was disclosed, they all agreed for David Jr. to live with his father and stepmother until Megan gets her priorities straight. David Sr. assured his son that he was not in trouble and that he would not be punished or separated from his family. He was made to understand that he is a boy, not a man, and it's not his responsibility to take care of any adult at his age. His father also told him that it's okay to cry and be afraid, but it's not okay to keep secrets. He told his son to always let him know how he is feeling, because it is his job to take care of him. David and his son hugged, and David Sr. did not let go until Jr. was ready. He told his son that he's loved, he's safe, and that he will always be there for him, even when he becomes a man, because that is what fathers do, he said tearfully. Well, Megan continued to date, as she couldn't find that rich, older white man. And every time she thought she found the right one, he was never available on holidays and never had more than a few hours a month to spend with her. What does that tell you? She decided that those Lifetime movies were just a fantasy and did not give her a practical way to find a husband. Her New Year's resolution was to stop running after men. All of those dates with the old men were meaningless. She said it was just like chasing the wind. Megan decided to be honest with herself, so she repented, and prayed for God to give her a clean heart and renew a steadfast spirit within her. Now at 32, she decided to date for love, and lo and behold, she got married. To her surprise, she found a man who wasn't rich, he wasn't old, and he wasn't white. Imagine that. He was a man who loved and respected her and wanted to include her son as part of their family. This is what real relationships should be based on. Money is not the only way to prosper. And I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health, just as your soul prospers. Now it's time for more journal entries. I'm talking to those of you who have a list of characteristics of what you're looking for in a spouse. It has become quite popular to get your list and to pray over it. I'm not telling you to settle for less, but the spouse you imagine may not look like that or act like that. Megan is a good example of someone who was looking for love in all the wrong places and in all the wrong faces. Especially when you are young and attractive, society tells us that we can have anyone that we want, just like your favorite actors or entertainers. Have you noticed that most of them don't stay married very long, no matter how good looking they are? Now I'm going to give you another way to look at this. Write a list of your characteristics and then place them next to the list of characteristics of your desired spouse and compare. What are you bringing to the table? If it is just your good looks you are counting on, then think again. With 8 billion people on this planet, there are a couple of million who look just as good or maybe better than you. Now let's assume that you were picked because of your beauty. What happens when you get older and start to wrinkle and your BBL begins to drop and dissolve and you start talking back? OMG. The stuff will start to hit the fan, young lady. It's likely that you will be thrown out with the trash and replaced with the newer model. Give you a minute. I'm thinking. Let me see. So what's the plight of trophy wives and sister wives? Well, that's a subject I will tackle on another podcast. Stay tuned. Now, the last emotion for this episode is envy, which is defined as resentment, discontent, and wanting what others have. There are so many people who operate under the dark spirit of hate. Envy is seen in everything from families, businesses, and sports, you name it. Whenever people are only focused on acquiring material wealth and fame, deceit, confusion, and every evil thing will follow. To clarify, if I put envy on a scale of 1 to 10, my example will score a 10. Now back to the example. There have been so many examples on the news of how someone is targeted because of envy. Do you remember years ago when an Olympic skater hired someone to break the knees of her opponent? Every year I hear about an overzealous mother who will do anything to make sure that her daughter makes the cheerleading squad or wins first place in a beauty pageant. I'll give you another example of how envy can ruin a relationship. Sarah and Joy, fictional characters, have been friends since high school. Lately, Joy has become really envious of Sarah, and every time she buys something new, Joy will go out and get the same. But last month, Sarah found a great job in her field of study, and her income doubled overnight. She has been buying new clothes and recently bought the luxury car she has wanted for several years. Joy can no longer keep up with her spending and has become resentful of Sarah and her new job. Joy has started to gossip and spread lies about her in their friend group because she believes that Sarah is getting uppity and has forgotten where she came from. Have you heard that before? She is now dating a surgeon and spends all of her free time with him and will no longer attend the weekly girls' night out. Can you blame her? Joy and Sarah went to college together, but Joy dropped out after her sophomore year. Joy believes that Sarah has just got lucky and that she should have that job and that boyfriend. She also applied for the same position, but she didn't get an interview because she doesn't have a degree. Joy believes that she knows just as much as Sarah because they were in the same degree program. And having a degree doesn't really prove anything, Joy said. In a fit of anger, when Sarah was gone for the weekend with her boyfriend, Joe keyed her car and flattened her tires. Joy couldn't wait for Sarah to come home and see her precious car as she mumbled to herself with bitterness and hate. What she didn't count on was being filmed on Sarah's security cameras. Word of wisdom. Do not devise evil against your neighbor, if they have done you no harm. It is written that the sinful will be destroyed from the land, and those who are not faithful will be taken away from it. With the previous examples, you can see how some people will do anything to sabotage someone else with slander, lies, threats, and hiring someone to harm another person or by damaging their property. Envious people who stoop to that level have very fragile egos, and watching someone else crash and burn gives them a sense of accomplishment by believing that the other person is not smarter or better than they are. They want what you have without working for it. They want what you have without waiting for it. Is this logical? No, it's emotional, rooted in hate, anger, greed, and a sense of entitlement with no respect for others. In case you haven't noticed, I don't mince words. I'm very direct, and there's no ambiguity in my statements. Well, we're coming to the end of this podcast, and in this segment, I illustrate the power of secrets and how to recognize and manage the emotions of jealousy, guilt, shame, and envy. This knowledge will increase your personal growth and improve your personal relationships. These truths will allow you to live a more harmonious life with purpose, passion, positivity, and power. I enjoyed being with you, and I hope you enjoyed the podcast as well. For your individual life coaching and consulting sessions, please DM me on Instagram at Dr. Julia Floyd. And please follow me on YouTube and Facebook. The links are in the description box. Before you go, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review because we're all in this together. And I'll see you next time on Harmonious Living with Dr. Julia. Ciao.